Hello everyone and welcome to another Middle Game episode focusing on passed pawns with Coach B from MasterChess.com. In this video, we're going to see how a simple capture can affect the outcome of the game. We're going to learn how to create a pawn majority and also an effective blockade. The game that we're going to look at is a very old game that was played in Europe in 1620 by the Italian Greco Giacchiano playing as black versus an unknown player playing as white. And just like in all my videos, I'm going to fast forward to the critical moments of the game. And this is the position that was reached after just 11 moves. And here, black is faced with an important decision. How should he capture the pawn on c4? Should he play b takes c4? Or should he capture with the d pawn, d takes c4? Now both of these moves are playable, but one stands above the other. And here, Greco chose the right move with d takes c4, breaking the old rule as you should always capture towards the center. This excellent move creates a hole on d5, which is an excellent square for a knight, blockading white's central pawn majority and putting pressure on the backward pawn on c3 and on the bishop on e3. Furthermore, black opens up the a8 to h1 diagonal for his queen and potentially for his light square bishop too in the future. But most importantly, this creates a queenside pawn majority. This means that black, whenever he chooses to, he can easily create a passed pawn, moving the pawn from b5 to b4. And the game continued with bishop to e2 and then knight g to e7. Coming back, I do want to mention that if here white tries to activate his central pawn majority right away, moving the pawn to d5, after e takes d5, queen takes d5, and queen to b8, black's position is in a very good shape. Black's queen defends the backward pawn on b5, and also he's putting a lot of pressure towards the pawn on e5. White is going to have a very difficult time trying to hold on to that pawn. Right now, black is attacking that pawn only with the queen and the knight. However, black can bring the entire army against that pawn, and white will have a hard time being able to hold on to it. For example, the knight on g8 could leap on to e7 and then to g6, where he's going to exert pressure on e5. The bishop on f8 can slowly travel to c7, attacking that pawn again. And after black castles, even the rook is going to be able to attack that pawn. And white's pawn is stuck on e5 as it cannot march forward to e6, where black controls that square with the bishop and the pawn on f7. So coming back, after d takes e4, white responded with bishop to e2, and now knight g to e7. White castled, and black's knight jumps on the wonderful square d5, blockading white's central pawn majority and putting pressure towards the pawn on c3 and the bishop on e3. And black's position is way superior to white's position, especially that his queenside pawn majority is able to create a passed pawn at any time. And from here, the game had a lot of ups and downs, and I'm just going to fast forward through the moves so you can see how black won this game in the end. And here we reach move 38, where white makes a mistake moving the king to e3, allowing black to push the pawn to h4, which will block white's pawn on h3 to a light square that can be attacked by the bishop. And now the white king will have a hard time defending both threats, both the pawn on f4, which will be challenged by the black king, and the pawn on h3, which will be challenged by the white bishop. He's not going to be able to hold on to both, and black was able to win this game. And here, white resigned. Coming back to move 38, I do want to mention that even instead of moving the king to e3, if white would have tried moving the pawn to h4, which was a lot better, black still would have had a better game and would be able to win. and I'm just going to fast forward through a possible continuation that could have happened in the game. And here, being up 3 pawns, black would still be able to win the game. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next lesson.